The first thing she feels is the cold. Not the kind that brushes your skin and passes. This cold sinks in. It crawls into her bones, settles there, and refuses to leave. Stone beneath her bare feet. Iron around her wrists. Damp air that smells like rust, wet fur, and fear that's been soaked into the walls for years. The underground hall roars around her, but the sound comes in waves, like she's underwater. Voices blur together. Laughter. Shouts. The scrape of boots against stone. Somewhere above, rain leaks through cracked ceilings, dripping slowly, steadily, each drop echoing like a countdown. Drip. 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 She stands on a raised stone platform, chains pulling her shoulders back, forcing her spine straight even though every muscle is screaming to curl inward. Bruises bloom across her skin, purple, blue, yellow, maps of what it took to get her here. Her hair hangs loose and tangled, damp from the rain and from sweat she hasn't had the chance to wipe away. Her scent has been stripped down to almost nothing, smothered under suppressant oils meant to make her smaller, quieter, easier to sell. But fear still bleeds through. Fear always does. The crowd circles her in tears, alpha wolves mostly, their eyes sharp, their scents heavy with dominance and judgment. They look at her the way hunters look at wounded prey. Curious. Disappointed. Amused. Some lean forward. Others wrinkle their noses like she's already rotting. She keeps her chin up. Not because she's brave. Because she refuses to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break first. A voice booms through the hall, rough and practiced. The auctioneer. He's done this thousands of times. Sold fighters. Sold breeders. Sold omegas like cattle. His voice cuts clean through the noise. Next lot, he announces. Omega female. No pack claim. No known lineage. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Interest sparks. Omegas always draw attention. Some alphas like obedience. Others like cruelty. Some like both. She feels it then. That flicker of something dangerous deep in her chest. A warmth she shoves down immediately. Not now. Never now. The auctioneer continues, gesturing at her with a casual flick of his hand. Healthy enough. Fertile. Tested. Her stomach twists, but her face stays still. She stares at the far wall, at a crack in the stone shaped almost like a lightning bolt. She focuses on that instead of the way their gazes crawl over her skin. A hand shoots up in the crowd. Start the bid. Relief almost breaks her. Almost. Because being sold means surviving. Being unwanted is worse. The auctioneer nods. Opening price. Omega, another voice interrupts. Louder. Sharper. What kind? The room stills just a fraction. The auctioneer hesitates. Just for a breath. That's all it takes. Unbonded, he says. Low-ranking. Submissive. That's the lie they always tell. A few alphas nod. One smirks. Another raises his hand again. Then it happens. A woman near the front wrinkles her nose. Wait. The auctioneer stiffens. Yes? I smell something off, she says. Her eyes narrow. What's wrong with her? The warmth in the Omega girl's chest pulses once. Hard. Like a warning. The auctioneer clears his throat. Nothing relevant. That's not an answer, and Alpha to the left growls. What's wrong with her? Silence stretches thin. Finally, reluctantly, the auctioneer says it. She's Omega born. But her wolf never settled. The hall reacts instantly. Laughter breaks out. Sharp. Cruel. Disbelief and disdain roll through the room like a physical force. An unstable Omega. Useless. Probably feral. Or broken. Her heart slams against her ribs, but she keeps her face blank. She's heard worse. She's survived worse. The auctioneer rushes to regain control. Her status has been assessed. No, someone snaps. Say it clearly. The word drops into the hall like a blade. She's dangerous. The warmth in her chest flares hotter now, licking up her throat. Her wolf stirs, restless, pacing behind a door she's nailed shut for years. Dangerous. That word ruined her life. Bids vanish. Hands that were raised drop back down. Alphas lean away from her now, as if she might infect them. The interest drains from their faces, replaced by irritation. I won't take a risk like that, one says. Not worth the trouble. Kill her or dump her back in the pens. Each word lands like a strike. She swallows, jaw tight. Her nails dig into her palms. Blood beads, bright against dirt. She remembers the first time her pack called her dangerous. She was 12. Her wolf had surged when another pup pushed her too far. Silver light had flashed across her skin. Just for a second. Enough to terrify them. Enough to brand her. The auctioneer tries again, desperation creeping into his voice. She's been suppressed. Controlled. She's manageable. No, the same alpha woman says coldly. She's broken. Broken. The word echoes in her head. Her wolf snarls, low and furious, but still she holds it back. Because letting go here would mean death. Or worse. Silence settles heavy and final. No more bids. The auctioneer exhales through his teeth. He bangs the gavel once, sharp and angry. Lot withdrawn. Just like that. Just like she's nothing. Guards move in. Big men with dead eyes and iron grips. One grabs the chain at her wrists and yanks. She stumbles, barely catching herself before falling flat on the stone. Laughter follows her misstep. Someone spits. She doesn't look at them. She can't. As they drag her off the platform, rain drips onto her shoulder, icy and relentless. It soaks into her hair, trails down her spine. The cold bites harder now, because hope had dared to rise for a moment. And hope always makes the fall worse. They pull her through a narrow passage at the side of the hall. The noise fades behind her, replaced by the echo of footsteps and the rattle of chains. Torches flicker along the walls, casting shadows that twist and stretch like monsters reaching for her. She breathes shallow, controlled. Don't cry. Don't beg. Don't give them anything. Her wolf presses closer to the surface, trembling, not from fear, but from restraint. It's like holding back a storm with bare hands. Exhausting. Painful. Necessary. She thinks of the old stories her mother whispered before they took her away. Stories of fire wolves and moon-marked girls. Of power that sleeps until the world tries to destroy it. She was never supposed to survive this long. The guards shove her toward a holding cell at the end of the corridor. The door looms ahead, thick iron bars, darkness beyond. This is where unwanted things go. As they reach for the lock, something shifts. Not in her. In the air. A presence rolls through the corridor, heavy and commanding, like the sudden pressure before thunder breaks. The guards freeze. One of them sucks in a sharp breath. Footsteps approach. Slow. Unhurried. Confident. The Omega girl lifts her head before she can stop herself. A shadow stretches across the stone floor, long and unmistakable. Someone powerful has entered the hall. And for the first time since the chains closed around her wrists, the fire inside her doesn't feel like it's burning her alive. It feels like it's waiting. And if you can feel her fear right now, if you can feel her rage pressing against her ribs, begging to be unleashed, then stay with her. Subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories, where broken Omegas don't stay broken, and where stories like hers are only just beginning. The footsteps don't rush. They don't echo with uncertainty or aggression either. They move with a calm certainty that makes the air itself pull tight. Each step lands heavy, deliberate, as if the stone beneath the Alpha King already knows who he is and makes room for him. The guards freeze mid-motion. The chain jerks once more in the Omega girl's wrists, then goes slack as the men holding her hesitate. Fear rolls off them in sharp, sour waves. Not fear of punishment. Fear of recognition. The corridor seems to narrow, the torches dimming as a figure steps into their light. He is tall. Not just in height, but in presence. Broad shoulders wrapped in a dark coat trimmed with northern sigils, worn smooth by years of command. His hair is black, streaked faintly with silver at the temples, pulled back at the nape of his neck. His face is carved from hard lines and restraint, no softness wasted, no emotion given freely. His eyes are steel grey, cold as winter seas, and when they lift, the world listens. The Alpha King of the Northern Realms has arrived. His scent floods the hall in a slow, unstoppable wave. Frost and smoke. Pine and iron. Power so old it doesn't need to shout. It simply exists, and everything else adjusts around it. The laughter from the auction hall dies instantly. Voices choke off mid-sentence. Alphas who moments ago sneered now straighten, instincts snapping to attention whether they want them to or not. Heads bow without permission. Spines stiffen. Wolves inside them lower their gaze. The Omega girl feels it like a hand closing around her heart. Her wolf goes completely still. Not cowering. Listening. The Alpha King's gaze sweeps the corridor once, dismissing the guards as if they are furniture. Then it lands on her. And the world narrows. For a moment, the chains, the bruises, the cold, none of it matters. There is only the weight of his attention. It presses into her skin, into her bones, into the place where her fire sleeps. Her breath catches, sharp and traitorous. He sees her. Not the title. Not the label. not the shame they tried to carve into her. Huh? The guards stammer, fumbling for words. Why, Your Majesty, we didn't know. You weren't meant to, the Alpha King says. His voice is low, controlled, dangerous in the way a drawn blade is dangerous, not because it's swinging, but because it could. He steps closer. The Omega girl feels the instinct to drop to her knees claw at her spine, drilled into her by years of punishment. She fights it with everything she has. Her knees tremble. She stays standing. Good, her wolf whispers. Stay standing. The Alpha King notices. Something unreadable flickers in his eyes. He stops a few steps away, far enough not to touch her, close enough that his warmth cuts through the cold. He studies her like a problem he's already solved, like a story he's been following for a long time. Then, quietly, he says her name. Not the shortened, mocking version the guards use. Not the clipped sound her old pack spat like an accusation. Her real name. The one her mother whispered into her hair when the world was still kind. The sound of it hits her harder than any blow. Her chest tightens. Her vision blurs for half a second before she forces it back into focus. No one has spoken her name like that in years. Gently. Without expectation. Without cruelty. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. Murmurs ripple through the auction hall behind them, panic edging into every scent. The Alpha King knowing her name is not normal. It's not acceptable. It means attention. It means interest. It means danger. The auctioneer stumbles forward from the shadows, wiping sweat from his brow. Why, Your Majesty, he says, voice shaking, this lot has been withdrawn. She's unstable. Not suitable. I didn't ask, the Alpha King replies. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. The auctioneer falters, then straightens, clinging to protocol like a shield. She received no bids. I'm aware. The Alpha King finally turns toward the hall. His gaze sweeps across the tiers of watching wolves, each one shrinking under it. You rejected her. No one answers. You called her broken. His eyes narrow, just slightly. You called her dangerous. Still, silence. He nods once, as if confirming something he already knew. Then he lifts his hand. I'll take her. The words land like a thunderclap. Shock rips through the hall. Voices explode at once. You can't. She's an Omega. She's cursed. The Alpha King raises his hand again. The sound dies instantly. I will take her, he repeats, for a price none of you can afford. The auctioneer swallows hard. Why, Your Majesty, the bidding is over, the Alpha King says flatly. Name the number. The auctioneer hesitates. Greed and terror war across his face. He blurts out a figure so high it draws gasps from the crowd. A price meant to insult. To drive him away. The Alpha King doesn't blink. Double it, he says. The hall erupts. Alphas surge to their feet, shouting protests. The scent of panic spikes, sharp and acrid. Council representatives whisper furiously. Guards exchange looks, unsure whether to intervene or flee. The Omega girl's heart pounds so hard she feels dizzy. None of this feels real. It feels like a trick. Like the moment before a trap snaps shut. The Alpha King steps forward again, his gaze locking onto hers. Remove the chains. One guard hesitates. My king, if she loses control. I said, the Alpha King repeats, his voice dropping, remove the chains. The guard's hands shake as he reaches for the lock. Metal clicks. The weight vanishes from her wrists so suddenly she stumbles, swaying on unsteady legs. She expects pain. Instead, she feels relief so sharp it almost knocks her breath from her lungs. The Alpha King doesn't touch her. Doesn't steady her. He gives her space, as if acknowledging the boundary without needing to test it. Their eyes meet. Fear surges first. Real fear. The kind that recognizes power it doesn't understand. Then heat. Her wolf stirs, drawn toward him like iron to a lodestone. Recognition pulses between them, wordless and unsettling. He looks at her hands, red and raw from the chains, then back to her face. You don't belong on your knees, he murmurs. The words slide under her skin and settle somewhere deep. Not a promise. Not a command. A truth. Something inside her cracks. Around them, the auction hall buzzes with chaos, but she barely hears it. Her focus narrows to the Alpha King, to the steady calm of him, to the way he stands like the world has already bent to his will and he's simply waiting for it to catch up. He turns to the auctioneer. She's under my protection now. The auctioneer nods frantically. Of course, Your Majesty. Of course. The Alpha King looks back at her one last time. Come. Not an order. An invitation. Her feet move before her mind catches up. As she steps away from the platform, away from the chains and the sneers and the word broken echoing in her head, she feels the fire inside her shift. Not flaring. Not raging. Awakening. And somewhere deep in the hall, beneath the stone and the lies, fate stirs, quietly, patiently, because the Alpha King has made his choice. They leave the auction hall without ceremony. No chains. No escort dragging her by the wrist. Just the Alpha King turning his back on the chaos he created and walking forward, as if the world will rearrange itself to follow. And it does. Guards scatter. Alphas step aside. No one dares block his path. She walks behind him at first, unsure where to place herself. Every instinct she has is screaming for rules. Distance. Punishment. But there are none. He doesn't look back to check if she's keeping up. He doesn't grip her arm. He doesn't mark her scent with ownership. He trusts her to walk on her own. That alone leaves her shaken. The tunnel leading out of the underground complex opens into night. Cold, sharp air rushes over her skin, clean compared to the rot below. Rain still falls, but lighter now, misting her face instead of soaking her through. Torches line the stone path outside, their flames bending away from him as he passes. Beyond the gates waits his transport, sleek, black, drawn by massive northern wolves whose eyes glow faintly blue in the dark. They bow their heads when he approaches. They don't bare their teeth at her. She pauses at the edge of the path, suddenly afraid to step closer. The distance between her and freedom feels too fragile. Like it could snap if she breathes wrong. The Alpha King stops. He doesn't turn fully. Just enough to look at her from the corner of his eye. "You're safe," he says. The words hit her harder than violence ever did. Safe is a word she learned to stop believing in a long time ago. Still, she takes the step. Then another. When she climbs into the carriage, he sits across from her, not beside her. Space again. Always space. The door closes with a solid thud, sealing them inside a quiet broken only by the rain and the soft creak of leather. The carriage lurches forward. For a while, neither of them speaks. She watches the lantern light flicker across his face as the road stretches out ahead. Up close, she sees the scars. A thin white line at his jaw. Another disappearing into his collar. Old wounds. Fought battles. Survived them. She wonders what it takes to carve marks into someone like him. Her wrists ache now that the chains are gone, pain blooming fully now that adrenaline has faded. She curls her fingers slowly, grounding herself in the sensation. Real. Still here. The Alpha King notices. He reaches into a compartment and sets a small jar on the seat between them. Salve. Healing herbs. Strong. For your wrists, he says. He doesn't hand it to her. He lets her take it. She hesitates, then nods once and opens the jar. The scent is clean, sharp with pine and something warmer beneath it. She rubs it into her skin, hissing softly when it stings. He looks away while she does it. That, too, matters. The road stretches into hours. The city fades behind them, replaced by forests that loom tall and dark, branches clawing at the sky. The deeper they go north, the quieter the world becomes. Fewer sounds. Less human noise. More space for thoughts she's spent years burying. Her wolf shifts uneasily inside her, reacting to the land. The north calls to it. Old. Wild. Familiar in a way that doesn't make sense. She presses her palm to her chest, breathing slowly. And memory finds her anyway. She remembers fire in the sky. She remembers the night she was born. The elders said the moon had been wrong that night. Too bright. Too close. They said the stars had rearranged themselves like they were watching. Her mother held her tightly as silver flame split the heavens, not lightning, not fire as anyone knew it. Something cleaner. Sharper. It didn't burn. It sang. Wolves howled across the valley, voices panicked, reverent, afraid. She's marked, someone whispered. She shouldn't exist, another said. Her wolf had stirred early. Too early. When the elders tried to test her at her first shift, her wolf didn't bow. Didn't submit. It stared back at the alpha with eyes full of fire and refused to lower its head. That was the first time they used the word cursed. The second time came when she was 8, after she healed too fast. Skin knitting together under silver light before their eyes. The third time was when the fire answered her fear and burned a circle into the ground without touching a single living thing. By the fourth time, they stopped pretending to protect her. They locked her away. They whispered prophecy behind closed doors, voices thick with dread. She'll end us. She'll draw war. She's not an Omega. She's something else. So they made her one. Stripped her of rank. of training, of choice. They forced submission into her bones until she learned how to hide what she was. Until she learned to make herself small enough to survive. Until they sold her. She presses her eyes shut now, breath tightening, chest aching with memories she never lets surface. Her fingers curl into the fabric of her borrowed cloak. Across from her, the Alpha King watches silently. He doesn't interrupt. Doesn't ask her to explain the tremor in her hands or the way her breathing changes. He waits. Hours pass like this. Silence heavy but not cruel. When dawn finally bleeds pale light across the horizon, the carriage crests a ridge. His kingdom spreads below them. Stone towers rise from the mountainside, carved directly from the rock, ancient and immovable. Banners ripple in the cold wind, marked with the sigil of the northern realms, a crowned wolf beneath a fractured moon. Waterfalls cut silver paths down the cliffs, feeding rivers that wind through dense forest. Power lives here. Not loud. Not decorative. Enduring. Her chest tightens again, but this time it's something like awe. The gates open without question. Soldiers bow. Wolves watch her with open curiosity, but no contempt. Some sniff the air, puzzled. None snarl. She notices every detail. The way he walks beside her now, not ahead. The way his guards keep their distance, giving her room as if instructed without words. Inside the keep, warmth wraps around her. Fires burn low and steady. The air smells like wood smoke and clean stone. She's guided to a chamber, not a cell. A room with a bed, a basin of warm water, folded clothes waiting neatly on a bench. You can rest, he says from the doorway. No one will enter without your permission. She looks at him then, really looks. Searches his face for the catch. Why? The word slips out before she can stop it. He doesn't pretend not to understand. Because you've been hunted long enough. She studies him for a long moment. You don't know me. A pause. Then, quietly, I know enough. He leaves her there. The door closes, not with a lock, but with trust. She sinks onto the edge of the bed, body trembling now that she's alone. Exhaustion crashes into her, heavy and unavoidable. She scrubs at her face, grounding herself in the present. Safe rooms can still be cages. She knows that better than anyone. She bathes slowly, scrubbing away the auction's grime, watching bruises fade under the water's heat. When she dresses in the soft clothes provided, she almost cries at the feel of fabric not meant to restrain her. Days pass. He doesn't rush her. Meals are brought and left outside her door until she chooses to join them in the great hall. When she does, he doesn't sit at the head of the table. He sits beside her, matching her pace, his presence steady but never overwhelming. He never commands her body. Never tells her where to stand. Never reaches for her without invitation. That is what unsettles her most. At night, when the keep quiets and her wolf stirs restlessly, she wonders why he hasn't rejected her yet. Why he hasn't demanded answers. Why he hasn't looked at her the way the others did, with calculation or fear. She catches him watching her sometimes. Not like prey. Like a storm he's studying, aware of its danger, but unwilling to turn away. Once, in the training yard, a visiting alpha sneers under his breath, you brought a curse into your home. The Alpha King's response is immediate and cold. Leave? The Alpha hesitates. The Alpha King's eyes flash. The Alpha leaves. That night, she sits by the window, staring at the moon. Silver light spills across her hands, and the fire inside her hums softly, restless. A bloodline erased from history stirs awake. And for the first time, instead of fearing it, she wonders what it would mean to let it be seen. Why hasn't he rejected me yet? She thinks. The question doesn't frighten her anymore. It burns. The blood moon rises slow and heavy, dragging its red light across the mountains like an old wound reopening. She feels it long before anyone says a word. It starts as a pressure behind her eyes, then sinks deeper, settling into her chest where the silver flame sleeps. Her wolf stirs, restless, pacing in tight circles, claws scraping against the inside of her ribs. The night air feels thicker than usual, charged, humming with something ancient that refuses to stay quiet. The Alpha King notices before she does. You feel it, he says, not a question. She nods, fingers curling into the fabric of her cloak. It won't let me sleep. He studies her for a long moment, then turns toward the door. Then we don't ignore it. They leave the keep under a sky already darkening toward crimson. No escort this time. No audience. Just the two of them and the steady crunch of frost beneath their boots as they move higher into the mountains. Torches burn low, flames bending as if bowing to the path ahead. The altar waits where it always has. Carved into a clearing of black stone older than the kingdom itself, the moon altar rises from the earth like a ribcage. Pillars of pale rock curve inward, etched with runes worn smooth by centuries of wind and prayer. The ground is scorched in places, marked by old rituals no one performs anymore. The elders say the altar was abandoned when prophecy became inconvenient. She steps into the clearing and the air shifts. The runes carved into the stone flicker once. Then again. Her breath catches. No, she whispers, instinct screaming at her to turn back. This place. It's awake, the Alpha King says quietly. The elders emerge from the shadows, drawn by the same pull. They keep their distance, eyes sharp, wary. These are not the same elders who condemned her as a child. These are older. Quieter. Their fear is tempered by memory. She takes another step forward. The runes ignite. Silver light blooms across the stone, racing along the carvings like fire given purpose. The ground hums beneath her feet. Her wolf surges forward, no longer restrained, and for the first time she doesn't fight it. Gasps ripple through the elders. The Omega with the king's flame, one breathes. Another shakes his head slowly. The one bought by fate. The words wrap around her like chains and crowns all at once. The altar answers her presence fully now. Light erupts upward, surrounding her in a column of silver and red, moonlight and blood intertwined. Heat floods her veins, not painful, but overwhelming. Too much. Too fast. Images slam into her mind without warning. She sees wolves bowing, thousands of them, their heads lowered in reverence and fear. She sees banners burning, kingdoms falling into ash. She sees herself standing on a throne carved from moonstone, crown heavy on her brow. Then she sees the blade. Cold. Sharp, raised above her neck. Her breath stutters. No. The visions don't stop. She sees the Alpha King beside her, blooded but unbroken, his hand reaching for hers across a battlefield soaked in silver flame. She sees him turning away. She sees him kneeling. She sees him dead. Her heart pounds so hard it feels like it might tear free. The elders' voices echo distantly, layered and frantic. The prophecy, it's awakening, this wasn't meant to happen yet. Her knees buckle. The world tilts violently, light shattering into fragments. She reaches for something solid, anything, but her body gives out before she can grasp it. She never hits the ground. Strong arms catch her, steady and unyielding. The Alpha King pulls her against his chest without hesitation, one hand braced at her back, the other cradling her head, as the light flares one final time and then collapses inward. The runes go dark. Silence crashes down around them. He doesn't let go. He carries her away from the altar, boots crunching over stone, as if nothing in the world could stop him. Her head rests against his shoulder, her breath shallow, her body burning and cold all at once. The elders watch in stunned silence. No one speaks. By the time they reach the edge of the clearing, her breathing evens out, though her face remains pale, lashes fluttering as remnants of the visions cling to her. She's the fulcrum, one elder murmurs. Balance or ruin. The Alpha King doesn't slow. She's not a weapon. No, the elder agrees softly. She's worse. She's a choice. He carries her back through the forest as the blood moon reaches its peak, red light washing over them both. His jaw is set, expression unreadable, but his grip never falters. In his arms, the Omega girl dreams of fire that does not burn and crowns that weigh more than iron. And somewhere deep beneath the mountain, something ancient stirs, because destiny has been seen, and it cannot be unseen. The tension doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in quietly, like frost spreading across glass. At first, it's only whispers. She hears them in the corridors when servants think she's asleep. In the training yard, when visiting packs arrive, and fall silent at the sight of her. In the great hall when conversations pause just a heartbeat too long, then resume in lower voices. The Alpha King feels it too. She sees it in the way his jaw tightens when messengers arrive at dawn. In the way his shoulders stay squared even when the weight of the crown presses harder than usual. In the way his eyes linger on the borders of his land, as if he's counting how many sides danger could come from. The Northern Realm has never feared scrutiny. Until now. The first accusation comes wrapped in formality. A council summons. Neutral ground. A demand for explanation. She does not attend. She waits in a side chamber, hands folded tightly in her lap, listening to voices rise and fall through thick stone walls. She can't hear words, only tone, anger sharpened by fear, authority cracking under the strain of something they don't understand. When the doors finally open, the Alpha King steps out alone. His face is carved from ice. They think I've lost control, he says calmly, as if discussing the weather. They think I've let corruption into my court. Her stomach drops. Because of me. He doesn't answer immediately. That silence is worse than agreement. They say an Omega cannot stand beside a king, he continues. That it upsets the balance. That it weakens the throne. Her fingers curl into fists. And what do you say? I say they are afraid, he replies. And afraid wolves are the most dangerous kind. The next accusation is louder. Rival alphas arrive unannounced, entourages bristling with hostility. They don't bow normally. They don't mask their scents. Dominance floods the halls, aggressive and invasive. She's unnatural, one of them snaps, staring straight at her as if she's not standing under the Alpha King's protection. Your land trembles because of her. She was bought, another sneers. Bought like property. And now you'd let her sit in judgment. Her wolf snarls, furious and aching to be unleashed. She clamps down hard, nails biting into her palms until blood beads. The Alpha King steps forward, voice cold enough to freeze bone. You done speaking. The Alphas retreat, but not before planting the seed. And seeds like that don't need much to grow. The first shadow beast attack comes 3 nights later. It strikes a border village just before dawn. Homes torn open. Livestock slaughtered. Wolves found drained of warmth, their eyes glazed, their bodies twisted in ways no natural predator leaves behind. She feels it happen. The silver flame inside her surges violently, ripping her from sleep with a gasp. Her heart pounds, breath coming fast as the image slams into her mind uninvited, black shapes moving too fast, claws scraping against stone, a scream cut short. She staggers to her feet, clutching her chest. The Alpha King is already moving. By the time the sun rises, the keep is in chaos. Reports pour in. Scouts confirm what the Council has feared for centuries: shadow beasts, long thought extinct, have crossed into the realm. Creatures born of old magic and hunger, drawn to power like moths to flame. Drawn to her. The looks change after that. Fear sharpens into blame. She brought this, someone whispers as she passes. This never happened before her, another says. The elders argue in low, urgent tones. The timing, the altar, the blood moon. She's a beacon, one says flatly. Whether she wants to be or not. The Alpha King stands between her and the council chamber doors when they try to summon her. She will not be questioned, he says. This is bigger than her comfort, an elder snaps. And smaller than your fear, he replies. But even he cannot silence the land itself. The attacks continue. Shadow beasts strike deeper each night, testing defenses, probing weaknesses. Wolves are injured. Some don't return. The realm bleeds in small, terrifying cuts. And always, the whispers circle back to her. She's the curse. She's the key. She's the end. She starts to feel like a fault line. The breaking point comes during a council assembly meant to unite the packs against the threat. She stands at the edge of the hall, silent, wrapped in a dark cloak, trying to make herself smaller. The Alpha King addresses the gathered leaders, his voice steady, commanding. We face a common enemy, he says. Division will only feed it. A rival Alpha steps forward, eyes burning. Then prove your loyalty to the realm. The room stills. Choose, the Alpha continues. Your crown, or the Omega. Her breath catches. She looks at the Alpha King, really looks this time. Sees the war behind his eyes. The calculation. The cost. Silence stretches, taut and unbearable. "This is not a bargaining table," he says at last. "But it is," another alpha argues. "Your refusal speaks volumes." The council erupts. Voices overlap, shouting, accusing. "She destabilizes us. She's prophecy made flesh. Kill her and end this." The word kill slices through her. The Alpha King's power surges, the hall shuddering as his voice booms. Enough! The stone beneath their feet cracks. No one speaks. But the damage is done. That night, he comes to her chambers himself. His expression is controlled, but she knows him well enough now to see what lies beneath it: fear, sharpened by resolve. "You have to leave the keep," he says quietly. Her heart sinks, even though she knew this moment was coming. "Because they are afraid of me. Because they'd use you to break me," he corrects. "And I won't let that happen." She searches his face for doubt. Finds none. "You'll be hidden," he continues. "Guarded. Safe. Safe." The word feels hollow now. She nods slowly. "For how long?" He doesn't answer. That's the answer. She packs without help, hands shaking as she folds clothes she's only just learned to wear without shame. Her wolf whines softly, restless and wounded. As she slips into the corridor, voices drift from the far end. Execution may be the only solution. Before the next blood moon. The king's weakness. Her chest caves in. She turns away before she's seen. She doesn't wait for guards. Doesn't wait for permission. She leaves the keep under cover of darkness, heart shattered into sharp pieces that cut with every step. She doesn't look back. Because if she does, she won't be able to keep going. The forest swallows her whole. And behind her, the Alpha King stands alone in his throne room, crown heavy on his head, knowing the world has just drawn its first real line in blood. The forest doesn't offer comfort. It only offers silence sharp enough to hear her own thoughts tearing at her from the inside. She moves without direction, feet bleeding, lungs burning, heart fractured into pieces too jagged to touch. Branches claw at her cloak as if trying to pull her back. Snow begins to fall somewhere high up, thin at first, then thicker, coating the world in white that reflects too much moonlight and not enough mercy. She tells herself she left to protect him. That lie almost holds. But the truth presses harder with every step. She left because staying meant watching him choose his crown over her, even if he never said the words out loud. Staying meant waiting to be sacrificed politely, quietly, for the good of everyone else. She has lived that ending before. Her wolf howls inside her chest, grief-stricken and furious, pacing until her ribs ache. The silver flame flickers, unstable, reacting to her pain. She clamps down on it, breath ragged. Not now. Not here. The mountain path narrows, jagged stone rising on one side, a steep drop yawning on the other. The wind howls through the pass, carrying the distant echo of something else: movement, weight, pursuit. She's not alone. The shadow beasts come at dawn. They don't roar. They don't announce themselves. They slide out of the mist like mistakes the world never corrected. Long-limbed. Hollow-eyed. Their forms bend wrong, stitched together by old magic that doesn't care about symmetry or mercy. She smells them seconds before she sees them. Fear slams into her so hard her vision blurs. She runs. Her lungs scream. Her legs burn. Snow turns slick beneath her feet, and she stumbles, catching herself on stone, skin tearing open. The beasts close in fast, their hunger a physical presence pressing against her back. She reaches the cave by accident. A dark mouth yawning open in the mountainside, barely visible beneath hanging icicles and creeping frost. She dives inside just as claws rake the air where her spine was a heartbeat before. Darkness swallows her. She stumbles deeper, heart hammering, hands scraping against stone until she hits a wall and spins, breath wild, fire clawing up her throat. The beasts crowd the entrance. They hesitate. Their shadows writhe across the cave walls, snarling silently, as if something here unsettles them. Her knees give out. She slides down the stone, shaking, tears burning behind her eyes as the adrenaline crashes out of her system. The silver flame thrums erratically, reacting to fear and exhaustion, flickering along her skin in faint pulses of light. She wraps her arms around herself and waits for death. It doesn't come. Instead, she feels it. Him. The moment the Alpha King steps into the mountain range, the land responds. The beasts recoil before he ever reaches the cave, melting back into the trees as if dragged away by unseen chains. Snow crunches under heavy boots. The air shifts, pressure dropping, instinct screaming. She feels it even before she hears him. Her head lifts sharply. Footsteps approach the cave entrance, slow and deliberate. Torchlight spills across the stone, warm gold cutting through the dark. She pushes herself back against the wall, every muscle tensing. "Stay back," she whispers, though her voice breaks halfway through. The Alpha King steps into the cave. His presence fills it instantly, solid and grounding, like the mountain itself decided to stand up and walk inside. His coat is dusted with snow, his hair damp from the cold wind. His eyes lock onto her the moment he sees her. Relief flashes there, raw and unguarded, before he reins it in. "Are you hurt?" he asks. She laughs, a brittle sound that cuts her throat. "That's your first question." He crouches several steps away, close enough she can feel his warmth, far enough not to crowd her. "It's the only one that matters." She doesn't answer. She can't. Her chest tightens, anger and heartbreak tangling until she doesn't know which one to grab onto. "You shouldn't be here," she finally says. "You chose your realm." "I chose you," he replies without hesitation. The words slam into her. "No," she snaps. "You hid me. You sent me away. To keep you alive. So you could keep your crown." He flinches. Not visibly. Internally. She feels it anyway. Silence stretches, thick and heavy, broken only by the drip of melting ice somewhere deeper in the cave. "I know what it looks like," he says at last. "And I won't insult you by pretending otherwise." She laughs again, sharper this time. "Good? Because I'm tired of lies." He studies her face, the tear tracks she didn't bother to wipe away, the faint silver light pulsing at her throat where her fire leaks through. "You think power makes choices easy," he says quietly. "It doesn't. It just makes them louder." She scoffs. "Spare me." He doesn't rise to the bait. "I was rejected too," he says instead. The words stop her cold. Her gaze snaps back to him. My first pack, he continues. They feared what I would become. Said my dominance was too strong. That I'd draw war. A bitter smile curves his mouth. They were right. She watches him carefully now, anger shifting into something more fragile. What happened? They tried to kill me. His voice is calm, but something old and sharp flickers beneath it. I survived. Barely. Power didn't save me then. It only made me alone. The admission hangs between them, fragile and unadorned. I built this realm because I thought control would keep me from ever being helpless again, he says. But all it did was give me more to lose. Her throat tightens. And now, she asks softly. Now, he says, eyes never leaving hers, the world wants me to choose between the crown and the one thing that feels right. Her fire responds instantly, flaring brighter, answering the emotion in his voice. She gasps, clutching her chest. He notices. Your fire. It answers emotion, she admits, voice barely audible. Fear. Anger. Love. The word slips out before she can stop it. They both still. Moonlight filters into the cave then, breaking through a crack in the ceiling, bathing them in pale silver. It pulls around their feet, climbing their legs, illuminating the space between them like a quiet witness. Their wolves stir. His rises first, massive, steady, its presence a wall at her back even without touching her. Hers follows, silver and restless, drawn toward him despite everything. She feels the pull. Magnetic. Terrifying. He reaches out slowly, palm up, stopping halfway. Trust me, he says. Or leave. But don't think for a second that I ever saw you as property. Her breath trembles. You bought me, she whispers. I didn't buy you, he says, voice rough. I chose you. The words settle deep, sinking past scars she thought nothing could reach. She leans forward without realizing it. He does the same. Their breaths mingle. Heat builds, slow and intense, coiling tight in the space between their mouths. Almost. So close she can feel his restraint, the effort it takes for him not to close the distance. Not to claim. Not to take. Moonlight flares brighter, reacting to them, their wolves brushing against each other in a silent promise neither of them fully understands yet. Her hand lifts. Then drops. She pulls back, chest heaving, eyes shining. If I stay, she says, voice shaking, they'll destroy everything you've built. He doesn't deny it. If you leave, he says, they'll destroy you. The truth cuts both ways. She closes her eyes, pressing her forehead briefly against his shoulder, drawing strength from the steady presence there. He doesn't move. Doesn't trap her. Just lets her choose. When she pulls away, something between them has changed. Not resolved. Bound. The storm is still coming. But for this moment, in the quiet heart of the mountain, they stand together, two powerful, broken beings daring to trust the same fragile thing. Each other. They return to the keep under a sky that feels too clear. That should have been the warning. The mountains stand silent as they descend, snow glittering like glass beneath the rising sun. The world looks calm, almost gentle, as if it hasn't already decided to turn on them. She walks beside him now, no longer behind, no longer hidden. Their shoulders don't touch, but the space between them is charged, alive, threaded with something fragile and dangerous. Trust. Inside the gates, everything looks the same. And that is what makes her uneasy. The guards bow too quickly. Servants avert their eyes too carefully. The great hall hums with a low, restrained energy that prickles against her skin like static before lightning. Her fire stirs. The Alpha King feels it too. His stride slows just slightly. His gaze sweeps the hall, cataloguing every exit, every face, every wolf whose scent is just a little too sharp. The council is already assembled. They didn't wait for summons. That alone is an act of defiance. The elders sit in a wide circle carved into the stone floor, ancient and immovable, their faces set in expressions that pretend at calm, but reek of resolve. Rival alphas line the outer edges, standing instead of sitting, a deliberate choice meant to remind everyone that this is not merely discussion. This is judgment. She steps forward before anyone can stop her. The Alpha King's hand twitches, instinct urging him to pull her back, to shield her. He stills himself. Lets her choose. The murmurs start immediately. She's here. She dares. The flame, can you feel it? The eldest council member rises slowly, leaning on a staff etched with runes older than the kingdom. His eyes fix on her, sharp and knowing. You were never just an Omega, he says. Her spine stiffens. No, he continues, voice echoing through the hall. You are the last living ember of a bloodline we buried. The room erupts. Shouts. Gasps. Growls. The Alpha King turns sharply toward the elder. Enough? But it's too late. The words are already out, already taking shape in the minds of everyone present. The elder raises his staff, and the hall quiets against its will. She is the silver flame, he declares. The child of the prophecy we tried to erase. Her heart pounds so hard she can barely hear anything else. Another elder stands. The prophecy speaks clearly. When the silver flame rises, the age of alphas ends. Fear sweeps the room in a palpable wave. She will end all alphas, someone says aloud. The sentence lands like a death knell. Her breath catches. The fire inside her surges violently, reacting to the collective terror, the accusation, the weight of a future they are forcing onto her shoulders. That's not true, she says, voice shaking but loud enough to carry. I never wanted. You don't have to want it, a rival alpha snaps. Fate doesn't ask permission. The Alpha King steps forward, power rolling off him in dangerous waves. You twist words to justify your fear. We twist nothing, the elder replies coldly. We have seen this before. Power like hers does not coexist. It replaces. Her gaze snaps to the Alpha King. For a split second, she sees it. The hesitation. Not doubt in her, but the understanding of what this revelation will cost. She moves before anyone else can. Chain me, she says. The words shock the hall into silence. The Alpha King turns to her sharply. No. She meets his eyes. There is no fear in her now. Only resolve sharpened by pain. If my presence threatens your realm, then let me prove I won't destroy it. Guards hesitate, looking to the Alpha King for orders. He doesn't give them. Slowly, deliberately, she steps forward and lifts her wrists. Do it. The metal closes around her skin with a familiar weight. This time, she doesn't flinch. The chains hum faintly, reacting to the power they are meant to suppress. The fire inside her strains against them, furious and alive, but she holds it back with sheer will. The council exhales, relief cutting through the tension. There, one elder says, "You see." Contained. The Alpha King's fists clench. Something breaks behind his eyes. The rival Alphas exchange satisfied looks. And then one of them smiles. That smile is the true betrayal. Execute her, he says calmly. Before the prophecy completes itself. The hall explodes. No. You can't. She's bound. The Alpha King moves. He doesn't shout. He doesn't argue. He reaches her in 2 strides and grips the chains at her wrists. For a heartbeat, everything stills. She looks at him, eyes wide, breath caught. You don't have to. Yes, he says quietly. I do. He snaps the chains apart, with a sound like thunder splitting stone. Power erupts. The hall shakes violently as the suppression magic shatters, shards of glowing runes exploding outward. Wolves cry out as the force knocks them back, sending bodies slamming into pillars and walls. The fire inside her roars free. Silver flame surges up her arms, wraps around her spine, ignites her eyes. Heat floods the hall, not scorching, but absolute, bending air and stone alike. She screams, not in pain, but in release. The prophecy burns through her, no longer a cage, but a voice. War erupts instantly. Rival Alphas lunge. Guards draw weapons. Elders shout orders no one listens to anymore. The Alpha King shifts mid-motion, his wolf tearing free in a flash of bone and shadow, massive and lethal, standing between her and the oncoming storm. Run, someone shouts. She doesn't. The silver flame answers her fury, her grief, her betrayal. It pours out of her in waves, licking across the stone floor, climbing walls, devouring banners heavy with false authority. The hall burns. Not with ordinary fire. With truth. Stone cracks. Ancient runes flare and crumble. Wolves drop to their knees as the weight of her power presses down, not killing, but forcing acknowledgement. She stands in the center of it all, hair whipping around her face, eyes blazing, her voice cutting through the chaos. I am not your ending, she roars. I am your reckoning. The Alpha King fights like a force of nature, tearing through attackers who dare get close, blood steaming against the silver light. He glances back at her once, their eyes locking through the smoke and flame. Recognition. Acceptance. Choice. When the roof finally collapses and the last of the rival Alphas flee, the great hall lies in ruins, burned, broken, transformed. She drops to her knees, power draining out of her in trembling waves. The Alpha King shifts back, rushing to her side, catching her before she hits the stone. The world is silent now, stunned into stillness. She breathes, shallow and shaking, surrounded by ash and truth and the echo of everything she can never take back. She has crossed the line. There is no hiding anymore. And as she clutches the Alpha King's arm, silver flame still flickering along her skin, she understands one thing with devastating clarity. She has been reborn. And the world will never forgive her for it. The world does not end all at once. It tightens first. Like a breath held too long. Smoke still curls from the ruins of the great hall as dawn breaks, pale and uncertain. Stone is cracked open like bone. Banners lie in ash. The air tastes of scorched magic and old blood. Wolves move through the wreckage in stunned silence, stepping around fallen pillars and shattered laws. She wakes to the sound of war horns. Low, distant, relentless. Her body aches in places she didn't know could hurt. The silver flame is quieter now, banked low beneath her ribs, but it's still there. Awake. Watching. She pushes herself up on trembling arms. The Alpha King is beside her instantly. Not towering. Not commanding. Just there. His cloak is torn. Blood streaks his jaw, dark against his skin. His eyes search her face with a fear he doesn't try to hide. You stayed, she says hoarsely. He nods once. Always. The horns sound again, closer this time. Not celebration. A challenge. From the far edges of the realm, they come. United packs that never should have stood together. Banners stitched with old rivalries fly side by side, driven by one shared terror. Ha! The prophecy has teeth now, someone whispers nearby. The elders who survived gather at a distance, afraid to come closer, afraid to look at her for too long. Messengers arrive breathless, voices shaking as they deliver the truth no one wants to hear. A final siege. Every Alpha who still believes in the old world is marching. To erase her. To reclaim a crown that no longer obeys them. She rises to her feet. The ground beneath her boots vibrates faintly, like the earth recognizing her weight. She feels it then, not power surging outward, but something deeper answering her presence. The land knows her. The Alpha King watches her change. Not physically, not yet, but in the way her shoulders square, the way fear drains from her scent and leaves behind something unyielding. Purpose, sharpened by pain. They are calling you a sacrifice, he says quietly. She lets out a breath that almost becomes a laugh. I've been that my whole life. She turns to him. Silver light flickers across her eyes, not wild now, but steady. Controlled. I am not dying so they can sleep easier, she says. I am not kneeling so they can feel tall. The earth shudders. A crack splits the stone courtyard from end to end, not violent, not destructive, deliberate. A warning. Wolves around them drop to one knee without understanding why. Even alphas. She looks at the Alpha King, searching his face for doubt, for fear, for regret. She finds none. Stand with me, she says. He doesn't answer. He steps beside her. Equal. When the enemy reaches the valley, the sky is already darkening. Clouds churn overhead, heavy with unnatural pressure. The mountains hum like drawn blades. The scent of thousands of wolves rolls forward in a suffocating wave. She walks to the edge of the ridge overlooking the battlefield. The world waits. She closes her eyes. And lets go. The silver flame does not explode. It unfolds. Her bones stretch, rearranging with a sound like ancient trees bending in a storm. Pain flares sharp, absolute, but she does not fight it. She breathes through it, welcomes it, gives it direction. Her wolf rises. Not smaller. Not hidden. Magnificent. Silver fur ripples with light like moonlit water. Runes ignite along her flanks, symbols no living wolf remembers carving. Her eyes burn white-hot, not blind with rage, but bright with knowing. When she lifts her head and howls, the sound is not hers alone. Voices layer into it. Ancestors. Mothers and daughters and forgotten queens. Warriors burned from history. They speak through her throat in a chorus that makes the sky tear open. Trembles. The ground buckles beneath the enemy ranks. Wolves stumble, not injured, but overwhelmed by the weight of her presence. Old instincts drag them down to their knees. Even the proudest alphas bow. Not in submission. In recognition. She steps forward, each massive pawprint sinking into stone, as if the land softens for her alone. The Alpha King shifts beside her, his wolf massive and dark, standing shoulder to shoulder with her silver blaze. Two forces. Balanced. She speaks, and her voice carries across the battlefield without shouting, without effort. I am not your sacrifice. The words echo inside bone and blood. I was not born to end you, she continues. I was born to end the lie that you must rule by fear. Movement stirs at the back of the enemy ranks. A figure steps out of the shadows. Not an alpha. Something older. Thinner. Eyes like empty pits. The true villain smiles, slow and satisfied. And yet, he says, voice slithering across the field, you stand exactly where the prophecy said you would. The silver flame surges, not uncontrolled, but furious. She turns her gaze on him. The land itself recoils from his presence. You fed them fear, she says. You twisted words and starved truths. He spreads his hands. I gave them what they wanted. No, she says softly. You gave them permission to be small. The Alpha King moves, but she stops him with a glance. This is hers. She advances. The villain strikes first, shadow magic lashing out, thick and corrosive. It crashes against her chest and dissolves like mist in sunlight. She doesn't slow. She opens her jaws and releases the silver flame. It is not fire. It is memory. It burns away deception, unravels the magic that held the packs together in fear. Wolves cry out as the fog lifts from their minds, as they remember who they were before they were taught to hate her. The villain screams as the flame touches him, his form unraveling, his borrowed power peeling away layer by layer. When he collapses into ash, the battlefield falls silent. Wind moves through fur and banners. No one attacks. No one runs. She shifts back slowly, pain rippling through her, as her human form returns. The Alpha King catches her without hesitation, arms solid around her as her legs give out. She presses her forehead to his chest, breathing him in, grounding herself. When she looks up, every eye is on her. She stands beside him, equal. The age of fear ends not with a crown placed on her head, but with the world choosing to stand instead of kneel. And for the first time in her life, she does not feel hunted. She feels claimed. By herself. Silence settles after the battle, not empty, not peaceful, heavy. The kind that presses on the chest and asks questions no one wants to answer out loud. Ash drifts slowly through the air, glowing faintly as it cools. The battlefield is still scarred, cracked open by power that cannot be unseen. Wolves remain where they fell to their knees, not in defeat, but in reckoning. Some stare at the ground. Others stare at her. Many cannot meet her eyes at all. She feels the weight of it now. Not the power. The choice. Her heartbeat is loud in her ears, as she stands between broken stone and broken belief. The Alpha King is beside her, close enough that she can feel the warmth of him through torn fabric, through shared exhaustion. He does not speak. He lets the moment belong to her. And for the first time, she does not wish to disappear from it. She looks out over them, alphas who once would have spat at her feet, elders who would have burned her name from record, wolves who watched her dragged onto a stone platform and did nothing. Faces blur together. But the memory sharpens. Cold chains biting into her wrists. Rain dripping through cracked stone. The word Omega spoken like a verdict. She swallows. And then she asks the question that has been burning in her chest since that night. If you stood in that auction, her voice carries, steady but raw, would you have turned away too? No accusation. No anger. Just truth. The wind stirs, low and uneasy. Wolves shift where they kneel. Some flinch as if struck. Others close their eyes. She lets the silence stretch. Because this is where it matters. You didn't reject me because I was weak, she continues, softer now. You rejected me because I frightened you. Because you were taught that anything you couldn't control had to be destroyed. Her gaze drifts, landing on a young wolf at the edge of the crowd. An Omega. His scent is sharp with fear and hope tangled together so tightly they are almost the same thing. I survived because someone chose to see me, she says. Not as a weapon. Not as a curse. As a life. She glances at the Alpha King then, not for reassurance, but acknowledgement. His jaw tightens, eyes dark with something fierce and unbreakable. And now, she says, turning back, you have to decide what kind of world you want to stand in. The ground does not tremble this time. The magic does not answer. Because this is not a moment for power. It is a moment for choice. Slowly, one by one, wolves rise. Not to kneel. To stand. The sound of it, thousands of bodies shifting, breath filling lungs, spines straightening, is louder than any war cry. Something in her chest loosens. Not all the way. Not yet. But enough. Later, when the fires are banked and the wounded are tended, when the realm begins the slow work of rebuilding itself, she finds herself alone at the edge of the ridge. The moon hangs low, pale and watchful. She wraps her arms around herself, suddenly cold now that the adrenaline has drained away. Power always leaves quiet behind. It asks for payment in stillness. Footsteps approach. She doesn't turn. You're going to be watched, the Alpha King says quietly. Questioned. Tested. She nods. I know. They'll try to shape you, he continues. Turn you into something easier to accept. She exhales slowly. I won't let them. A pause. I won't let them either, he says. She turns then. Really looks at him. Not the crown. Not the legend. The wolf who stood in an auction hall and said her name like it mattered. Why, she asks. Not accusing. Just honest. He meets her gaze without flinching. Because the world doesn't need another ruler who's afraid of fire. Emotion tightens her throat. She looks away before it can spill over. Below them, the realm breathes, bruised, alive, uncertain. This is not an ending. It is an opening. And as the moonlight washes over her silver-marked skin, as the wind carries the distant sounds of wolves finding their footing again, the question lingers, not just for them, but for everyone listening. If you had been there, in that underground hall, watching an Omega girl chained and broken, and judged unworthy before she ever spoke, would you have turned away too? Or would you have seen the fire waiting to rise? And if this story burned in your chest, if her fear, her rage, her becoming stirred something deep inside you, then stay. Subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Because here, Omegas rise. And fate always bites back. The night lingers over the valley like a living thing, heavy and expectant. Ash floats lazily from the ruins, glinting faintly in the waning moonlight, each particle catching a fragment of her silver flame before fading into shadow. The battlefield is silent now, but silence is never innocent. It hums with the weight of what has been done, and what is yet to come. She stands on the ridge, cloak pulled tight around her shoulders, the cool air biting against scorched skin, carrying the scent of smoke, metal, and the faint, lingering tang of silver fire. The Alpha King is close beside her, solid, unwavering, a tether in the chaos, but even his presence cannot calm the storm still coiling inside her chest. Her wolf stirs restlessly, ears pricked, nostrils flaring as it scents danger far beyond human perception. And it is there. Always there. From the shadows of the distant mountains, beyond the fires, beyond the edge of their vision, something moves. Not human. Not wolf. Something older, patient, and dark, watching with intent sharp enough to cut through the cold night air. Her silver flame stirs instinctively, brushing against her spine like the prelude of a storm. The hair on her arms rises. The air vibrates subtly, a warning too faint for most, but she feels it in every nerve ending. Then the voice comes. Low, venomous, and threaded with unyielding power. It rides the wind, curling around the cliffs and echoing faintly across the valley floor. The Alpha King was only the beginning. She freezes mid-breath, heart hammering so violently it feels like it will crack her ribs. The wind carries the words again, and she understands, this is no idle threat. This is the first ripple of the real storm, the shadow lurking behind every prophecy she has ever heard whispered. The Alpha King steps closer, hand brushing her arm, but she shrugs it off, not in anger, but in redness. She doesn't need tethering now. She has survived chains, fire, betrayal, and prophecy. She is the storm. Who are you? She whispers into the darkness, voice trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing the world has grown far larger, far darker, than she ever imagined. No answer. Only the hum of the land beneath them. The earth itself seems to shiver. Cracks appear along the ridge, fine at first, then widening slowly, almost deliberately, as if the planet itself is responding to the shadow's presence. Her wolf surges, instinct and power colliding with emotion, silver flame flickering across her skin like living light. She closes her eyes and draws the energy in, not as a weapon yet, but as a shield. The mountains echo her heartbeat. The valley bends around her. Even the wind holds its breath. A faint rustle from below, a movement among the surviving wolves. Some kneel instinctively, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. They smell what she cannot see. They feel it. This presence is ancient. It has waited, and now it begins to move. The Alpha King's hand finds hers again, this time steadying, not restraining. His gaze sweeps the horizon, catching every shadow, every shift in the night. There is no fear in his eyes, only calculation, respect, and a flicker of anticipation he doesn't try to hide. They've been waiting, he says softly, almost to himself. Watching. Judging. Measuring strength. Her silver flame pulses in response. And now, she asks. Now, he says, voice low, deliberate, we make them see. Or they make us pay. A tremor runs through the ridge beneath their feet. Fine cracks spider web across the stone like veins, spreading outward. Dust falls from jagged cliffs, and distant boulders shift slightly as though the mountains themselves are bending in recognition or warning. Her pulse quickens. This is not merely battle. This is reckoning. And in the shadows, the presence moves closer, yet still unseen. A figure so vast and dark that the world itself seems to bend around it. The wind carries whispers now, fragments of old prophecies, words long buried. The fire rises. The silver flame walks. The Alpha King cannot save her from what comes. Her silver eyes flare. She feels the weight of lineage, of ancestors, of unspoken bloodlines, all surging through her. Every heartbeat, every pulse, every nerve screams, she is not done. She has survived, been bought and claimed, betrayed and unleashed. But the true trial is just beginning. The Alpha King shifts slightly, wolf and human, his presence immense beside her. Whatever comes, he murmurs, we face it together. She turns to him. For a fraction of a second, the world seems still. Ash floats in slow spirals around them, the moon casting their shadows long and impossible across the valley. She searches his eyes and finds something unspoken, a shared promise, a tether that even the unknown cannot sever. Then the earth groans, low and deep, a warning that cannot be ignored. Cracks widen beneath their feet. Rocks begin to tremble. The faint whisper from the shadows rises, almost audible now, almost tangible. The Alpha King was only the beginning. The true Alpha hasn't risen, yet. Her wolf growls deep in her chest, silver flame pulsing fiercely along her veins. Her hair lifts with the wind, light catching every strand, giving her the aura of a living flame. She breathes in, slow and deliberate, gathering every shard of fear, every memory of chains, every scar etched into her soul. She steps forward. Not alone. Not trembling. Not uncertain. The Alpha King steps beside her, dark, solid, his massive wolf coiled, ready. Shoulder to shoulder. Fire to fire. Steel to steel. From the darkness, something watches. Patient. Immense. Unseen. It waits for her next move. And she knows, without doubt, that the world will never be the same again. The camera of imagination pulls back slowly, drawing the audience high above the valley. Ash drifts in the pale moonlight. Wolves stir. Smoke curls upward. Cracks in the earth spider outward. And in the highest shadows of the distant mountains, an unseen figure steps forward, watching, waiting, calculating. The screen fades gradually to black. Only one whisper remains. Low, cold, eternal. The Alpha King was only the beginning. The story is far from over. The flame has risen. The wolves have chosen. And the shadows have begun to move. For everyone listening, the question remains. Will you stand? Or will you turn away? The answer waits. And so does she.